I'll also now put the floor open for discussion. So you have questions. I need to see some raise of hands so that I can pass the mic to you.
I have one question for Pramod, since he has been through the corporate career and then sort of taking a decision to move into entrepreneurship. There's no right time to entrepreneurship. So where I think the toughest part is the call which one needs to take, and possibly wanted to sort of get your take on what were those jittery things which would have come into your mind at that point of time, and how did you come over all of those to sort of take that that huge call?
Actually, it didn't happen that way with me, and that is not necessarily how it would be with anybody else. I was already pretty much established in my professional life, had been a CEO for nearly 14, 15 years when I took that decision. I became a CEO early, so that I was lucky. And like I said, what I learned from the entrepreneurs was also this resolve, the steely resolve that they have to do what they want to do. And time and time again, I saw that with people that I worked, that they wanted to do something, they'll make a decision and then go with it, put everything behind it. So when I made the decision to move out, like I said in the very beginning, it could have been a tough decision to leave a CEO's job and everything that goes with it, to become an entrepreneur, start an operation from a 2-bedroom apartment, moving from the top floor corner office of the Motorola headquarters in India to a 2-bedroom apartment in Safdarjung Enclave was not an easy decision to make. But the day I made that decision, I never looked back. I never even thought about it, and I don't think I felt nervous inside about it, because I always knew if I built businesses for them, and I built businesses in different spaces, if I could do it for them, I could do it for myself.
Sure.
If I can just add to that, I got out early in my corporate life, 3 years into the corporate life, and I exited. But I think the saddest phrase of midlife is, I wish I had. Not taking the plunge when the desire is there. And I've met many, many successful employees of companies, and I've met many successful entrepreneurs. I've never met an unhappy, successful entrepreneur. I've met many unhappy, successful employees. So I think if the desire and the calling is there, taking the plunge and playing to that desire is very essential.
Sure. No, I think that's a valid point that you've made. Okay, just to add to what he has asked, what happens is, when you're into a job, there are certain skills you pick up, and they become like a second part of your life. For example, I'm an editor; content comes naturally to me. But the minute I'll probably have to go out and do a sales bit over there, I'll have to consciously make myself prepared to go out and do it. Now, my question to you is, I'm sure there would be, as a CEO, I'm sure you were doing a very holistic kind of role. But nevertheless, all of us would at some point of time have this feeling that I'm good at this, while this is, not my strongest forte. Now, but as an entrepreneur, you cannot say who you're going to say that to. The minute you say that to your team is going to be out of there faster, out of the door than you can imagine. So how do you make up for it?
It's a very important point you're raising. When you are working in a company, even when you become a CEO, there is always somebody that you can look to. I'm not talking about a company like GE or others where there is no one beyond a CEO. I'm talking of the Indian context. But when you are an entrepreneur, everything just stops at you. You have nowhere to look. If things go bad, you are responsible. If things successful, you are responsible. You have to pull the people together. You got to really take all of that responsibility on your head, and that's not an easy thing. You do spend sleepless nights.
Absolutely.
And over again, because something can go wrong, and something does go wrong all the time. Things happen, and you spend sleepless. You have to do a lot of sacrifices, because as an employee, you are entitled to leave. As an employee, you're entitled to go on a holiday. As an entrepreneur, yes, you should do the same thing, but sometimes you're not able to do it.
Mostly.
So mostly you're not able to do it. So there are different kind of challenges that you face, and you also become responsible for a lot of people who work with you and for you. You suddenly become to feel responsible towards them, towards their families. It is not when you are you are an entrepreneur, young, I mean, when you are not a very well-established large organization, every employee of your company seems like a part of your family, because that's how the organization grows. Like I said, I started a 2-bedroom apartment. There were 4 people who came. I mean, and then a few more people joined, and I knew everybody by name. Till we grew to a size of 150, I perhaps knew everyone by name. Today we are 600 people. I feel very sorry that I don't know by name. I still look at their ID and then try and address them by name. So it's a journey which takes a lot and requires you to feel different responsibility, and it develops. It comes. It's a learning that you go through, and each one will go through it differently. So that's how I see it. Yeah.
Sure. Good.
Also, I mean, I think entrepreneurship is about team sport. One doesn't have to have all the capabilities, but one has to complement their weaknesses with other strengths and play to others' weaknesses from your strengths. And if I really look at it, I'm a finance MBA. But since we started the entrepreneurial journey, I've become a marketing salesperson, and as we've grown in size and scale, I purely play to an HR skill set of managing people today. So I think there are different skill sets that are required at different times of the entrepreneurial journey, and it's a lot of learning that needs to go on a continuous basis. There's always a statement of founders flounder, but I'm not sure I totally agree with that. It's a different skill set to different points in time that one needs to mature into, and as long as you're building a team that complements you and is able to stand in on a holistic basis. When I was younger, I had a preference for biology. I wanted somebody who was good looking, who was, fair, tall, all of those things. But today when I look at people, I look for chemistry. Am I on the same wavelength with those individuals? Am I talking the language that, that they will understand? Are they talking what I want? And effectively build a team that can go together to achieve the required success.
No, I think certainly that is there. As I mentioned in the morning, entrepreneur is somewhere between the inventor and the executor. So basically, his bigger role is always building a team and getting the job done. So, so I'll come to the final point of this particular session, whereas when do you say, we should not take more risk than this? Though I've always heard, I never see entrepreneurs complaining. They're always having such a huge appetite to take risk that it's amazing. But, at what point of time should you averagely go out and say that as an organization, as an entrepreneur, I'm not going to extend beyond this? Is there some sort of benchmark that you have put, entrepreneurs should have?
I don't think so. And it might come from, I think, burning the bridges behind you to making things work and effectively take the risk that is there. Because, the higher the risk, the higher the reward on that front. If you really want a fixed income security, you should stick to a job. And I think entrepreneurship is about taking the risk, is about putting the house on the market in that sense of the word. And it's about playing to your interests. And I think it's always easier to be an entrepreneur when you're slightly younger because you don't have that many things to take care of. I started my entrepreneurship journey when I was a little over 20. I didn't have a family, I didn't have kids, I didn't have many things to take care of. So it was easier to bet the house on the aspect of what I was doing. But I'm sure with the element of age, with the element of things that happen over the years, you always tend to become a little more risk averse. But belief is the higher the risk, the higher the return. If you're jumping from the 10th floor, you might as well jump from the 50th floor.
So, well,
just for the kick of it.
Well, I would say it was just the opposite for me because I left it at a time I was at the peak of my career, and I had 2 kids who were studying in the US. So I I had big responsibilities. They were still to be married and everything else. And I took the decision. I said, this is the test. If I can overcome this nervousness, then I don't think anything else can deter me. And many times the entrepreneurs, with the feeling of frustration that you have, sometimes you will have disappointments and you feel depressed, you do see things going wrong and it upsets you internally. But you have to put up a brave front. That's something that one has to learn as an entrepreneur. You cannot let your team feel that you are weak, or you cannot be seen as being weak or less confident. You have to be more than confident all the time. So your team has to be inspired. As a leader, you cannot afford to show weakness, even if there is weakness, right? And that's when the teams can rally around you. They can give better than the best that they have. And like Shok also said, team building is the most critical aspect of building entrepreneurship. People, in today's time, when the opportunities are so many, people can easily be lured away from you. It's not like they're part of your family. Sometimes even family people leave you. But to keep the people together, to keep that flock together is a very challenging thing, right? It's not just by giving more money you can keep together people with you, and you don't always have that luxury. And entrepreneurs, young organizations never have that luxury. So you have to do something different than the large organizations can do to retain people. So people retention is the biggest challenge of entrepreneurship in today's time.
Sure. So where do you say no more risk?
Well, there is nothing like no more risk. If a real entrepreneur will never be averse to taking risk, and you have to be taking risk all the time. I know we are going to be coming to the end of the session. When I started this company, Oxygen, in 2004, and what it is today, most people who were there with me then don't even recognize what this company is today. We have moved from being a simple services aggregation payment solution provider, moving into a space which, as of yesterday, when Reserve Bank announced setting up a payment bank, we find ourselves right there in the middle of that opportunity to become a payment bank in this country. I would want to see ourselves as the first payment bank license in this country. So the risk only increases.
Sure.
It never is reduced, and the appetite always keeps becoming bigger and bigger.
That's wonderful. So my last question to you before I'll wrap up the session, or we'll take if there are any more questions. As an organization grows, obviously you'll not be going to be doing everything or not going to be able to do everything, even if you much wanted to do it. Now, how do you build up an inner circle? How do you have that 5, let's say there were 3 of you, and then you need to build another 6, at least 1, 2 for each one of you. How are you going to build that inner circle who would probably understand the cue of your eye to say that, okay, this is the way to do things?
We had to kiss many frogs before we found our prince or princesses. And I think the reality is that over the journey, some of the core team has evolved with us from the aspect of what we were to what we are today, and some have had a lateral shift into the organization depending on the growth and the need of the hour. But I think at the end of the day, like I was saying earlier, the chemistry is very important. Right. Your ability to get along with the people, your ability to trust, delegate, and have transparency on the table becomes very essential. Right. And I think as long as the aspect of expectations, aspect of deliverables, and roles are clearly on the table, building the team becomes much easier. And I think you can't get great ideas around a team, but you can build teams around a great idea.
Right.
And I think that's really what has driven the aspect of team building.
Yeah, great. So you have some thoughts to share on this?
Well, it's important, and the people who come with you in the beginning, they have to grow, and they have to feel that they are also growing with the organization in the same way as the organization is growing, and then the sense of belonging continues. It also, because there are many entrepreneurs sitting here, and I want to share this with you. The people who come with you in the very early stages, they come with you because they perhaps trust you more, they have seen you, you have had chemistry with them, they they have some confidence in you, but as the organization grows, the need becomes different. And many times you will be faced with a dilemma that what you need today is not what the people you brought in the beginning can deliver.
Right.
And that's one of the toughest tests of an entrepreneur who builds an organization. You have to, but you have to be true to your organization. You have to do justice to it and bring people from outside, and that's when big challenges arise. But you have to continue to create talent and make the organization robust for future challenges. So this is something that I find it has been difficult for me to dislodge anybody who has been with me from the beginning, and I never did it. And these people have grown, but I had to bring a lot of people from outside and re-engineer the team all the time. In the last 10 years, we have re-engineered our team at least 3 times. And it has had disappointments for many, but that's a challenge you have to overcome.
That's true. So I'll take this one parting, note from both of you in terms of saying that if you want to take charge, this is the 2 things or the 3 things which you want to point out you need to do.
I think, like I said earlier, key is committing to the process, making it very clear that you want to step on to the entrepreneurial journey and align the various variables that are out there to creating a successful model on whatever that you intend to do. And the second is really about the myth of the individual hero. It's between the aspect of creating a cult or a religion. One outlives the founder. And I think creating an organization that outlives the founder is the true essence of an entrepreneurial journey, where you've effectively created a team, a process, an organization, and a business that can go on forever. And I think the true happiness comes from that aspect at the end of the day.
Fantastic.
Things that I believe in the organization for it to be successful is, I always tell people to work for small successes. Many times we attempt big things. We set ourselves targets, and we only work towards the end of the target. It doesn't work like that. You have to create small steps to reaching a target, and each step will give you that much more confidence to move to the next step. So you have to get people to deliver on small successes before they can reach their formal target. Nothing succeeds like success, as they say, and therefore those successes are important. That's the fundamental rule that we lay down. I personally want to be completely hands-off, yet as an entrepreneur, when you see things going wrong, there is always a temptation to get hands-on, and that's where things start getting messed up. So you do have to create processes that are not dependent on the people. So they're not people-specific, but this does not easily happen. We all say it. It is, it's like what you read, what you study, what you're taught. We all know it, but we don't do it, because the practical way of doing things evolves. It's not something that can be copied from anybody's biography or from anything that you've learned from reading a book of success of an entrepreneur or of a CEO. So you have to create your own way of delivering results in steps and reaching your target surely, steadily, surely, but not rushing towards it and making a mess of things by getting involved into everything.
But I don't think a founder can at any point of time be hands-off, really, as long as he's alive.
No, absolutely right. So that's what I said. It's always a temptation that you want to get hands-on the moment you see things going wrong. Right. And you will get involved, but then you have to pull yourself back. If you don't do this, then people start moving away from it. Then if you take responsibility, others will not take responsibility. It's always difficult to do things yourself and give responsibility to somebody else.
But it's a founder's dilemma, really, because you also know that what I could have achieved if I had been doing it myself or had been guiding somebody doing this, it would have been so much different than the way things are happening now.
There might be a suboptimal outcome to somebody else doing it, but then if you don't let that decision making and that activity happen, you're really not empowering the team to future success.
Right.
So, Ritu, the only thing I would say is if you do not let go, you cannot create a scale. You can run small, good organizations, you can run limited opportunities, but if you really want to grow big and if you want to scale up your business, you have no option but to let go. You have to learn to swallow what you see as mistakes of others. You also make mistakes, and you never consider those mistakes in the same way as you consider mistakes of others. You have to learn to swallow the mistakes of others. And if you allow that to happen, your organization will grow bigger and faster.
Wonderful. So I think that was a great discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Big round of applause for both the gentlemen. They've brought such, they've really what I call spoken from the soul, you know. They've actually understood each and everything that really beats in the organization's heart, and the entrepreneur who knows that, you know, it's all happening in front of my eyes, but yet I know when to close my eyes and when to keep them open. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Wonderful having you both here and having your thoughts on this. Thank you so much.